The meeting may be recorded. The data collected during the recording of the meeting will be retained in accordance with the council's data retention policy. The recording of the meeting may be added to the council's website. Members accessing the meeting remotely should use their Swale Borough Council or KCC laptops to participate virtually. If you join using the link on the website or on a mobile or tablet device, it may not always be possible to identify you, and you may not be recorded as in remote attendance. I welcome everyone to this licensing subcommittee meeting. The emergency evacuation procedures, I don't believe there's any planned. So if you do hear the fire alarm go off, please treat it as a potential threat. The fire exits are in the lobby there by the lift, opposite the lifts. Please don't use the lifts. And should anyone in attendance require assistance to escort them from the building, can we let them know now? Okay, thank you. Right, so apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. There are no apologies for absence.
As I say, my name's Simon Park. I'll be chairing this morning's licensing committee hearing. And I invite the other members of the subcommittee to introduce themselves.
I'm Councillor Carol Jackson. I'm Councillor Leanne Moore.
And could I then go and for officers and ask the officers to introduce themselves, please?
Thanks, Chair. I'm Helen Ward, I'm the legal advisor.
Ian Edwards, lawyer and observer.
I'm Joanne Thomas, I'm licensing team leader. I'm Lorraine Crowley, I'm licensing officer.
I'm Kelly Capizzi from Democratic Services.
I'm my rights, council my rights, I'm the board member. Here to support them.
Could I ask our applicant and objectors to introduce themselves?
My name is Councillor David Ingram, MBII and Joint Vice Chairman of Ship United.
My name is Elizabeth Stickings. I'm a resident of Queenborough Road.
My name's Pamela Colworth and I live in Sunnyfields Drive.
Bob Gallagher, also a resident of Queenborough Road. Stephen Metcalf, also a resident of Queenborough Road.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So we're here to consider the application for the grant of a new premises licence under the Licensing Act 2003 at Home Park Sports and Recreation Ground, Queenborough Road, Pathway, ME12 3D.
Sorry, I just wanted to declare I work in a pub in Queenborough, so obviously you know of the applicant, but there's no financial benefit. It's just I work in a different pub.
And I think perhaps I should also be clear that although I don't know the applicant personally, in that respect, when I was mayor of Swale a couple of years ago, I did attend an event at the Rose Pub in Queenborough, and I also gave some funds towards flags and banners for the Armed Forces Veterans Breakfast Club. But I have no actual dealings with the applicant. Okay. Can I confirm that all parties are aware of the subcommittee hearing procedures and that each party has a copy of the hearing procedure document? The subcommittee procedure should take the form of a discussion led by the subcommittee. Where a person attending the hearing believes behaves in a disruptive manner, the subcommittee may direct that person to leave the hearing, mainly temporary or permanent. All subcommittee members have pre-read the papers and any other documents contained in the report regarding the hearing. So please could the licensing officer introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chair.
Members are asked to consider an application for the grant of a new premises licence under the Licensing Act 2003 in respect of Holm Park Sports and Recreational Ground, for which several objections have been received. The premises is situated amongst a residential area and currently has a premises licence in place, which it has held since December 2013. This new application is to extend the boundary of where the licensable activities takes place. The licensable activities being applied for are shown as paragraph 3.2 of the report on page 5 of the agenda. The full application is shown at Appendix 2, pages 21 to 45 of the agenda, with the premises plan at Appendix 3 on page 47. As members will be aware, there is a 28-day consultation period for an application is made, during which time any responsible authority, a councillor or an interested party may make representations about the application, provided that the grounds are relevant to the licensing objectives. For this application, no representations were made by responsible authorities. However, agreed conditions were put in place by the police, including the removal of the request for boxing and wrestling events. The list of conditions can be seen at Appendix 5 on pages 51 to 53. Environmental Health attended the site on the 22nd of May and had sight of the noise management plan. They made no objections and their consultation response can be seen at Appendix 6, page 55. 39 representations were received, including a petition with an additional 57 signatures from interested parties, the vast majority of whom were local residents. Representations can be seen at Appendix 7 on pages 57 to 107. They were made on the basis of 3 licensing objectives of prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, and protection of public safety. 5 of those who made objections are here today to present their representation to members, 2 of whom have submitted supporting documents which have been circulated. The applicant has also submitted supporting documents which have been circulated to all parties prior to today's meeting. In light of the representations, it falls to members to determine this application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So could I please ask the applicant to perform their case?
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Ingram. As I said, I'm the joint vice chairman of Sheffield United Football Club, the designated premises supervisor for Home Park, licensee of the Rose Inn and formerly of the Royal Hotel, and councillor for Queenborough Town Council. Between them all, I've racked up 20 years of experience in hospitality events and trying to keep everyone happy, and that's no small task, I assure you. However, this is my first time appearing in front of the licensing review panel, but please bear with me if I seem a little nervous. I'm far more comfortable managing a busy match day or calming a packed pub on quiz night than I am standing here trying to knock over my water bottle. But I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I'll do my best to answer everything clearly and respectfully. Firstly, we would like to thank you for the opportunity to respond to the concerns raised regarding the licence application for Home Park, and we fully acknowledge that local residents have voiced a number of objections, and it's only right that those concerns are taken seriously. However, we believe that these issues can be properly and proportionately addressed, and the licence sought is both reasonable and manageable. We would like to begin by expressing our sincere appreciation to all the residents who have taken their time to submit their views and turn up today concerning them and regarding the application to Home Park. Community engagement plays a vital role in ensuring local venues operate in a way that respects and enhances the surrounding neighbourhood. And these are the salient points as we see them. Lack of notification. While the statutory process for public notice and advertisements followed, we appreciate that some residents may have missed the initial notifications. In future, we are happy to host local information evenings, circulate newsletters to surrounding roads within 100 metres of the ground, and include QR codes on signage for easy access to application summaries. Community disruption. We strongly dispute that commercial interests are being prioritised over the community. Home Park is a community asset that provides supporting opportunities, employment, social cohesion and charitable engagement. The additional activities proposed aim to enhance its sustainability, not to disrupt residents. Home Park is not a nightclub or a festival venue like Glastonbury, and never will be. It is a community sports ground looking to enhance its offering with occasional events such as fundraisers, local music nights, or family gatherings, weddings, christenings, and hopefully not too many of these, wakes. Revenue from such events is essential to keep youth and adult teams operating affordably and ensure facilities are maintained to high standards for local use. The aim is to support, not alienate the local community. We are open to limiting the number of outdoor events, which, as you'll see, police have already capped us to 6 per annum. And we will submit event plans where requested in advance for council or community review. Noise pollution. We recognise that noise is a genuine concern for local residents, particularly with regard to outdoor events. However, the venue has operated with an awareness of its residential context. Any extension of live or recorded music outdoors will be conducted under strict conditions compliant with licensing law and environmental regulations. And it is important to note here that on my meeting with the Environment Health Officer, he informed me there were no official noise complaints on record for Home Park. Sound monitoring system will be used to ensure volumes remain within agreeable limits. A noise management plan could be developed in consultation with the council as environmental health officers. Outdoor music will be limited to specific timeframes and decibel levels will not exceed agreeable thresholds. Sorry, I'll start to shake. No events will be permitted beyond agreed curfews to protect the community's right to quiet enjoyment in the evenings. As a football club, it is important that we can watch our national team, and we have asked if we can open 2 hours before and after World Cup games and European games. Rest assured, the timings for the next 30 years are within normal times, as the time distance for the hosting nations mean great viewing times for the European market. Parking issues, which we feel is not a material reason for objection. I would like to deal with this separately when the photos are brought into discussion and in more depth, but we acknowledge congestion during match days. Excuse me. That said, Home Park has already taken proactive steps to reduce the impact of parking. Event stewards and marshals are deployed to manage traffic flows during larger events. Overflow parking agreements with nearby landowners and businesses are being explored. Parking signage and clear communication with attendees about responsible parking are routine. We are willing to implement formal event parking management in collaboration with the local authority, including the use of temporary signage, cones and patrols to prevent obstruction or illegal parking. Our aim is to ensure minimal impact on Queenville Road and surrounding areas, while encouraging attendees to use public transport, walk or share vehicles where possible. Light pollution, again, we feel not a material reason for objection. It is important to clarify that the licensing process does not control planning matters such as floodlight installation or operation. These fall under planning law, and any permanent change to floodlight operation would require a separate planning consent. Nevertheless, we are conscious of resident feedback regarding lighting, especially in the winter months. In response, existing floodlights are compliant with planning permissions and were angled specifically to minimise light spill. And we are actively investing in light shielding solutions to further reduce light spill into nearby homes. Timers are being placed to ensure lights are only operational during essential use. Any additional lighting for events will be temporary, low impact and directed away from residential properties. Light pollution, while often cited, is not a licensing concern unless it contributes directly to public nuisance under the Licensing Act. Impact on wildlife. We value the importance of protecting local wildlife and believe this can coexist with responsible community sports and event facilities. The vast majority of Home Park's ground are grassland, and existing floodlighting and noise levels are consistent with typical sporting venues. We will commit to working with local environmental groups to monitor potential impacts if requested and incorporating wildlife-friendly landscaping across the grounds. Event timings will avoid periods where wildlife is most sensitive, e.g. nesting and breeding seasons. Noise levels will remain within thresholds that are not deemed harmful to the surrounding habitat. Antisocial behaviour. Home Park has a proven record of responsible management, has worked closely with local police and community safety teams to prevent antisocial behaviour. Events are well supervised and licensed security staff are present as required. We will, though, take the following steps seriously. A Challenge 25 alcohol policy is strictly enforced. Zero tolerance for disorder, vandalism or drug use. Security presence and rapid response to any incident. Engagement with Kent Police regarding any upcoming events with alcohol sales. increasing our CCT coverage and partnership with local police where necessary, clear exit protocols to avoid disturbance after events. It is also important to note there are 2 football grounds and venues within a half mile of Home Park, and not all antisocial behaviour can be pinpointed at us. There is no evidence to suggest a direct link between events at Home Park and any reported antisocial behaviour in the area. Should any issues arise, we are fully committed to investigating them transparently. Health and well-being. We absolutely recognise the concerns of elderly and/or disabled residents and families. That's why any extended hours or amplified music events will be limited in number, occur at weekends or holidays, and finish at reasonable hours. All events will be planned with consideration for local school terms and sensitive time periods. We are sensitive to the needs of vulnerable residents. Regarding the Equality Act, which we know is going to be brought up later, we are mindful of the needs of neurodivergent residents and those with sensory sensitivities. Any events we hold will be limited in number, appropriately signposted, and run during agreed hours. We're not proposing to bring sudden noise or late night disturbances on unsuspecting neighbours. In fact, our goal is to bring people together in a controlled, respectful and inclusive way. I also acknowledge the objector's closing statement that they're not against football, they're not against community. And I believe we are aligned in our broader intentions. The difference being they're asking the committee to preemptively refuse something on the basis of what might happen, rather than allowing us to demonstrate that we can and will do this responsibly. We are not asking for blind trust. We are asking for a licence with the right conditions, the right oversight, and the right balance between opportunity and protection. We believe Home Park can continue to be a valued part of this community, not by pushing boundaries, but by being a good neighbour, a responsible operator, and a place where people of all ages feel welcome. The intention is not to run daily late night events, but rather to accommodate occasional family-friendly community functions. And we would be happy to discuss restrictions on frequency, timing, and type of event that could be written into the conditions of this licence. Traffic safety. Public safety is a core licensing objective. To our knowledge, Home Park has never been the source of a formal traffic-related safety incident reported to the authorities. However, we understand the importance of preemptive risk mitigation. We will be providing stewarding for larger events. And when we say events, these are actually football matches, as in our time at Home Park, we have only ever had one music event. And to guide pedestrians and vehicle movements. We will provide clear signage for pedestrians and drivers and explore a community liaison group to assess traffic and safety impact collaboratively. We will include traffic marshals at key points of entry and exit, notify local authorities where necessary of any event expected to attract high volumes of visitor. We will explore avenues of fundraising additional temporary traffic calming measures through council or government grants. We are also exploring collaboration with local schools and community venues for shared parking arrangements during larger fixtures. Event stewards will manage vehicle and pedestrian flow during peak times. Environmental impact. Littering is not tolerated and is proactively managed during and after every event. Cleaning teams are deployed and additional bins have already been installed on site. We will further endeavour to install more waste and recycling points at key positions, review and increase post-event cleaning rotas, communicate with visitors about responsible behaviour within the community. Again, we will be happy to discuss restrictions on frequency, timing, and type of event that could be written into the conditions of the licence. Suggestions for mitigation. We welcome the constructive suggestions proposed. In fact, we are happy to restrict certain events to key calendar dates and to cap the number of outdoor amplified music per annum, already capped at 6 by Kent Constabulary, who have also refused the boxing and wrestling in our application, and to use stewarding, additional bins and clear signage to maintain parking and littering. These proposals demonstrate the club's willingness to work collaboratively, and we are eager to formalise such agreements through conditions if required. Conclusion, we acknowledge the concerns raised and remain committed to operating Home Park in a way that supports community wellbeing, respects local residents and complies with licensing objectives. It is our belief that with clear conditions, good faith communication and operational safeguards in place, Home Park can continue to serve as a valuable local venue without causing detriment to the neighbourhood. Thank you.
Questions from student, Councillor Jackson?
I've got one or two questions like. Thank you for, I'll let you get your breath.
Yeah.
Right, first of all, are you expecting to do any fireworks on yourselves?
No.
No fireworks?
No.
How many people do you expect to attend these events?
It's there. We've only ever had one event in all the time that we've been there, and that was capped 499 on attendance basis. We are not expecting huge crowds. The events in question will mainly be football arranged events, as in football tournaments from the 10s, 12s, whatever we choose to. Music events are not actually on our forthcoming agenda, apart from one that we have got with the local Rotary Club, which we did do last year.
Let's bring it on to another question. What kind of entertainer are you expecting? It just, you know, I know you said not groups. Things
No,
like
we're not expecting, we're not trying to be the Isle of Wight Festival. We would like to be able to put out a little bit of music when we have football tournaments. But that's, we're also in discussion with Maidstone Pipe and Drum Band to come and support our November the 11th celebration. But we can't use them at the moment as they are deemed a live band. But we would love to have the Skirl of a Bagpipe doing the last post, but we can't do that live or record it outside at the moment.
my questions.
Yeah, if one was more to the possibly to the licensing officers as well, just Mr. Ingram said about the other venues. I would like to know what does the GNS East and the one football ground opposite have similar licenses? Within all the
Sherry's fault.
Chelsea Sports Club. I can tell you the hours of those existing in the public bands, because we're not introducing new information. So their sale of alcohol Sunday to Wednesday is 12 till 10. Latest hour. Their latest hour is to be midnight.
and is that indoor only as well?
That is both indoors and outdoors for live and recorded music. And the sale of alcohol. It's on sales only. I think there is a limitation to music outdoors though,
Again, similar to what's been
9 o'clock.
just sort of, you say, sort of, it's not, so you're not sort of planning on doing like a big music festival, like you say? It's
There are
just
none
a-
planning to see
there
music.
are-
That's not who we are.
So some of the times might not be as specific as some of, as late as needed.
No, but if we was to host a wedding, we would like to be able to go a little bit later.
Yeah. But sort
Otherwise,
of like,
our financial opportunities are slightly reduced.
yeah, but sort of like live outdoor music, you wouldn't be
It's
expected
not.
to go to
That's
2
not
o'clock in the
No,
morning.
That's
So
not.
that's
who we
what
are.
I just wanted to confirm with yourself that,
When we put events and we said the word events, it will be football orientated events. They will be mainly daytime and mainly to allow us to use our ground. I'm sorry, I'm starting to ship over myself, but to use our ground to its potential.
I've just got one question, Mr. Ingram. It says on page 31, amplified music from 12 noon till 01:30. I would presume that it wouldn't be a lot of people, especially in the winter months outside at 1:30 in the evening.
There's been nobody outside, the winter months is freezing.
Yeah.
So amplified music outside till 1:30. That obviously, as I've said in there, we are quite open to restrictions being placed on things like that. But amplified music inside, we'd like that to stay till 1:30, which would then cover us for New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, certain bank holidays and other bits and pieces. In line actually with the clubs up the road that have that already.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. So the application, obviously you have your license now, which allows you to trade pretty much the hours that you applied for anyway.
Yeah.
And then the license you're applying for is actually a slight reduction on the hours you can trade for your standard times.
Yeah.
But there are other changes, so for example, we talked about the events. And in your presentation, you very helpfully talked about what you actually want to do. Because the application is quite wide, one of the decisions that the committee might make is to grant you the license subject to additional conditions. And you mentioned you'd be happy to look at restrictions. So now would be the perfect time to just talk about what those restrictions might be. So for example, Rob said for events, you would be happy to limit that to 6 per year.
Yep.
Weekends and holidays only. What would you mean by holidays?
Holidays being public bank holidays. But we also have, when we say events, public bank holidays, we have normally we have a local government city wall
Yeah.
on a bank holiday, which increases the traffic and noise somewhat, which we understand.
Okay, but what you've applied for is extended hours on every bank holiday. Is that something you like, or would you be happy to restrict?
If you face that sounds quite loud.
Yes, that's okay. It's going to be difficult in here, I'm afraid. I'll be as loud as I can. So the application asks for additional hours on every bank holiday.
Yeah.
Would you be happy to restrict that so that the bank holidays are included within the events quota?
We'd be happy to restrict that because bank holiday Mondays especially are what we class as a school night. People have got to get up and work the next morning.
Yeah.
We would respectfully ask that the bank holiday Friday, being that the fact that nobody works the next day, that we could continue with later hours on that one.
So that would be your 6 events would include bank holiday Fridays. So say you had 3
Bank holiday
events.
Friday is a normal working day within our licence, but we would like that to be a slightly.
It's slightly later, it's to 2 AM is what you've applied there today.
Using that, we'll be happy to restrict that, but to 1:30 indoors again,
Okay,
as for a Friday.
right. So say you have an event that is on a day that is not.
Could you describe what you mean by event?
I suppose that's my question for you. So you've said events are going to, so if you have a wedding, depending on what's happening, that's unlikely to be licensable. If alcohol isn't being sold, it depends what you're doing. Additionally, weddings, the numbers might mean that you wouldn't actually need regulated entertainment, because if you're licensed the whole venue, then you benefit from exemptions to regulated entertainment up to a certain number of people, and weddings, I would imagine, would probably fall comfortably within that. Firstly, what's your occupancy, maximum occupancy?
Inside or outside?
So
Inside is roughly 100.
outside, I think they're licensed for 1,400.
Outside, we are currently licensed for 1,400.
Okay. So you talk about events mostly going to be football related,
Yes.
but usually sort of one music event per year.
At the moment, we are with the Rotary Club for their annual charity beer festival.
Okay. So the events that you're asking for would be extended hours.
Yeah.
What times would you anticipate having outdoor music
Well,
at the event?
Obviously, I've asked for what I've asked for, and I'm quite happy to discuss the reduction in that application. If I turn around here now and say, oh, it happened at 7 o'clock, and throw that back at you later. So what I'd like to do is respectfully have a conversation, and we decide between us what we will all agree on as something that is responsible for the ground and the community.
Okay. So the licensing officer said about the nearby premises has a limit on outdoor music of 9 PM.
Yeah.
Where do you feel about 9 PM?
We'd be happy to accept 9 PM to be with that, but we'd respectfully like an extra half an hour.
9:30. Very much. You've mentioned some other conditions as well. You'd happy to apply, so challenge 25. perhaps a noise management plan being in place, and then you
have
work.
submitted the noise management plan.
Yeah, yes, yeah, there's a noise management plan been included. Conditions about dispersal protocols, the way the license would work is rather than be too prescriptive on what that actually is, it might, for example, be a condition requiring you to have those documents in place, which is the more appropriate way to deal with licenses. So you'd be happy for conditions.
I think it should be having the documents in place.
Yeah. Okay, outdoor music in winter months, what's a winter month for you?
It's a month.
Yes.
Like say from October till February, March, say so October till March, and trust me, there won't be any outdoor entertainment. It's much too cold on that park.
Thank you very much. Bear with me 1 second, let's just make sure that that's good. That's this point.
Sorry, I'm booked to turn this off.
Thank you, Chair, that's everything for me at the moment. Thank you
Very much. Okay, so move on then. So could I please ask interested parties in turn if they would like to put forward their case. I remind all interested parties they must identify their representation and only make submissions based on the content of their original representation. Questions may be then put to the interested parties by members and all other parties.
Sorry, Chair, before we go to there,
Yeah.
it's questions for the applicant from the interest parties, but so we have questions, the applicant, we will have another opportunity to present your case.
So we're ready to the members here from the public.
My main question is why do you need a licensing, a wide scope of licensing when you've got things like temporary entertainment notices in place, which are limited, I think, 15 times a year, and each notice is 168 hours. That's a lot of entertainment. I don't understand why you need anything outside that scope.
To be fair, did you say how many tens I can apply for?
I think it's 15 in a year, is that right? 50.
I could apply for a 10 every weekend.
Yeah, but
Chair,
As a
can
license
I
holder.
clarify this, sorry? Pen's not just restricted by how many you as a personal license holder can apply for, but they are also restricted by the area.
Yeah.
So you can only have 15 at any one time.
Yeah.
You mentioned 168. You can't have 15 times 168.
It's not independently, but I'm not legally, so you
No,
know it's
no,
not legally.
so-
I'm just, someone
yeah.
sent me a letter from my door, that's why I'm here.
Yeah,
So,
no, I appreciate that, and it's all very technical sometimes, and
It's just-
it can all be very difficult to understand, but what I do want you to be aware of is you couldn't have lots of 168 hours.
Yeah, but if you're only going for 6 times, you could get 6 texts potentially a year, and then you have to scrutiny from external sources like environmental, police and stuff like that.
Tends
So
to be
that's-
subject to consultation,
Yeah.
but they're also subject to capacity limits,
Yeah.
and this room has explained that the outside area
Yeah.
has a capacity of 1,400,
Okay,
which would be over that if you
Yeah,
were to put
okay.
them to run temporary event notice, so it would be.
so that's what you're intending to do, is have more capacity outside, so there's big fans for the,
Premises license, if you have a capacity over
yeah, okay.
199.
So that's even more, I mean, isn't it? So you can expect that these events are not small events for Parliament or Council 499, these are thousands of people doing it.
Mr. Ingham has explained what he means
Yeah,
by
okay.
events. But Mr. Ingham, sorry, that was a question.
No, that's fine. By events, you're assuming that I'm trying to turn us into IB, so to speak.
What should anything?
We are mainly concerned with football. Football is our passion, it is our dream.
Totally get that.
All we want to do is to be able to host if we was to say we wanted to host a football tournament for the under 10s for the whole of Kent,
Yeah.
that would attract hundreds and hundreds of people to these events with the children involved in the teams and their parents.
And now
We want to be able to license the ground so that we could put up temporary bars to service these people who are arriving, temporary food venues, so we can service the people and feed them and to keep them within the ground rather than touring the local community trying to find shops that sell alcohol and food.
In theory, that's brilliant, but then you don't need an app. If you're saying it's football based and it's under 10s and all the Kent and under 12s, actually you don't do alcohol stuff.
I do what, sorry?
Need outdoor
They,
activities.
because each player out of under 10 will bring a parent or two. So you're looking at 88, 90 parents that we'd like to be able to supply an adult refreshment.
But then potentially the risk of public nuisance.
But we already have a license that covers that, and there is, you're right, but there has been no public nuisance.
Of course, at the moment, what, in my opinion, what's happening is it's
Sorry,
a range of.
Sorry, it was for specific questions out there. Two people. So if you have got a specific question, put to Mr. Ingram, please
No,
ask it. I think Mr. Ingram has answered, your question you asked.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've got a question. Is there a traffic management plan?
At the moment, we don't have a written traffic management plan. We have verbal instructions between stewards, stewarding, obviously all the volunteers who work there. We all manage the car park.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, people being people, they'll choose to park where they want.
yeah. I was going to
But
say,
I will
are
bring up-
you?
I will bring up our response to parking.
Yeah.
When the photographs are mentioned.
Are you aware, obviously you're inside the football ground, having a lovely time, watching football, etc., etc. The stewards.
Don't class my role as having a lovely time
Okay.
watching football.
Okay, you're up against the
Yeah,
cost,
yeah.
firefighting, putting out problems. The stewards, very lovely people. They wait at the end of the like track lane into coming from the Queenborough Road. They tell people no, the car park's full. But then the Queenborough Road is just chaos. So are you aware that the stewards, their kind of remit stops at the end of the road? Is that what has been asked
It
of
is,
them?
but we are willing to, as I said in the original statement, we are willing to entertain with the council and local authorities, preemptive measures, cones,
Yeah.
signage, bits and pieces, but that is something we'd all have to discuss at another meeting. I would like to say that parking on Queenborough Road is not illegal. There are no yellow lines, no restrictions, no signs.
It is a public nuisance.
Parking anywhere outside Queenborough School every day could be a public nuisance, but nothing's dealt with like that. There are public nuisances everywhere that people gather.
I think we're getting beyond the red where we're talking about at the moment.
Yeah.
I appreciate
No
your
further questions.
But I do
Yeah,
have,
we can, when you come to place your submissions, you can bring the attention of the committee to the photographs and whatever other evidence you send.
Thank you.
Jack, can I just give a small piece of advice as well on this point at the moment? With regards the committee's decision today, they're looking at public nuisance from the perspective of the licensing activities that will take place, and obviously a football ground can be a football ground without premises license. What the committee will consider is the impact of that premises license and licensing activities that are sought on public nuisance. So parking, it's a football ground. We can park there. The decision for the committee is going to look much more about how does their decision impact that. That's reasons to say. Thank you, Jack.
Are you happy with the submission of Mr. Ingram's put forward? Okay, so any further questions, Mr. Ingram?
Yeah, Robert Gallagher, a road resident. This ring. With thinking about weddings, primarily in the summertime, I take it you'd have weddings outside.
possibly,
Possibly.
that would include the purchase of sufficient marquees and sufficient strengths to compete with the wind across that park.
So what time would you expect live music to be on to those events?
Well, if the license says 9:30, then we would go to 9:30, but we could then put in a temporary event notice to take that up till 11:30. But as such, we've never held a wedding.
No, you don't have a license for it at the moment.
You preempted my question there. You're not a licensed wedding venue in place.
You don't need to be one license, but you don't need to hold a wedding reception.
You're not licensed to actually conduct weddings.
No.
Any further questions for Mr. Ingram?
Yes, please, Mr. Ingram. You have an alcohol license now,
Yes,
and you're a football club. So you're a football club, so
Yes.
you could host a children's
Or any other.
or any other football related with the licence you have now.
Because,
Why would you want to extend that licence beyond what
because
is
the
there?
football pitches mentioned for the tournaments are 250 to 300 metres away from the bar. We'd like to put temporary bars up and temporary food places up, so that you don't have to walk the whole way across the ground to the bar to get a drink, to take it back all the way up to the football ground.
I think if they were desperate, they probably would. But I mean, parents are driving their children, I assume, or they're coming in coaches, maybe, I can accept that. But I don't understand this alcohol. Why do you need so much alcohol at these, especially youth events? I just don't, I'm
Youth events
sorry.
bring parents, the children don't drive themselves there.
No,
And with
I
the
know.
parents, they will want to
All right,
consume alcohol.
So only if there's two parents, one parent will be allowed to drink and the other one, because they're driving.
What they both can drink, but within limits.
And yet they can't walk your 200 metres to your bar inside your club.
All we're asking for is that, and we want them to be able to drink the alcohol at the pitch side, which at the moment they can't.
I think from the perspective of the licence for activities, Mr. Ingram obviously is responsible for not allowing drunkenness and antisocial behaviour at the ground. It's my understanding from the FA that you have to provide separate refreshment areas for the away team and the home team.
Which at the moment we can't do.
Okay. And obviously, Mr. Ingram is, I mean, it's an individual's choice whether they consume an alcoholic drink or not. So I don't think that's within our remit to say that Mr. Ingram can't have a bar over on the other side of the ground so that people haven't got to walk however it is, because, he doesn't want to serve them a drink. It's each individual's choice whether they drink or not.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I do understand that, Mr. Ingram. Does the licensing allow, you've got a licence up to, on Sundays, 1 o'clock, as I understand it, weekends, but does that mean that you can't take your alcohol outside the club? You can't serve alcohol outside the club? The licence is only inside the club? It's not.
Yes, how do you like to clubhouse?
So
That's on the
thank you.
obviously being installed is still on the same. So because the application was amended following so you still only be able to consume alcohol on the premises. The premises will change to include pitch side and as it's very sustained the ability to put bars in the club within the wider vicinity.
So this week, sorry, if this would just be for 6 outdoor events that you would put your outside bar?
To be fair, as I mentioned before, in the 10 or so years we've been at Home Park, we've only ever had one.
Yes, I know. I remember that very well. It was the beer festival last year. I heard it. Sorry. Say that. But no, I ask you, would it just be for the 6 outside events that you would want this bar, or would it be for your football related events as well, or any other event you choose to have outside?
We would like to have the ground license so that people can purchase alcohol and drink it anywhere within our premises, watching whatever match they want. We're not out to be flashy. We are not talking events as music events, which is how I think you're seeing this.
Thank you.
One brief question. What's the average match day attendance at the moment?
What, for a home derby?
Just a normal match.
300 to 400.
Clarification question of Helen. At the moment, do I get it that alcohol can be served within the clubs, not drunk and student and outside? I.e. on the tents.
The existing license, it's on sales only on the premises only. Every license has a plan attached to it, and that plan will show premises. Plans that are attached to the premises. They're on page 19 of the agenda, and they show clubhouse.
Right, so we'll move on then to the submissions from the members of the public. So if I can ask you.
Yes, my name's Elizabeth. I live along the Queenborough Road. I'm mainly referring to the prevention of a public nuisance, traffic and parking control is put in there. It says the club will encourage responsible parking within designated areas and work to minimise congestion in the vicinity of the venue, particularly during match days and large events. So I've lived in the area all my life, 39 years. As a resident, you accept that on match days, you know, there's going to be parking from 1 o'clock till 5 o'clock. You know, it's got a defined end limit to it. You accept it, move on with your day. I think what really gripes me about this is the idea that, oh my goodness, this could be, you know, people parking their cars there overnight because they've come to to a festival or event, whatever you want to call it. They're going to be drinking, they're going to be responsible in parking their car on the road, and then it's going to be there for however long. And I understand that we can't take responsibility for how other people park and drive, but something does need to be done about the Queenborough Road. As I submitted at the weekend, a classic example of the pandemonium that happens along the Queenborough Road when there are football days. I would ask if you're like-minded to agree to the licence that a stipulation be made about a robust traffic management plan be insisted upon. As I understand it, the stadium's got capacity of 1,400, so it's my feeling that there should be a management plan in place already. I did look on the website, I wasn't able to see this. You know, my pictures show a timely example from the weekend just gone, from 9:30 in the morning until in the afternoon. Cars are parked along the highway. There was a PCSO there ticketing cars as well, so he obviously felt that they were being a nuisance and they were infringing the law. I would like to conclude my representations by saying if the licence additions are agreed to, it will fall to us residents to police these and keep a note on whether it goes over 6 or not. It says in the licensing policy that the council will monitor these, but in all fairness, council doesn't have capacity to monitor every event that goes on in Swale. You know, for example, this year, the floodlights have been used after agreed hours. Planning permission was in place that they should be turned off at 9. It's only since the arrival of the club's interim chairman that this is now being adhered to. Steve's a good man. The licensing, yeah, just please you'll be able to consider that. Thank you.
I mean, whether this was in my remit, but you could always submit a objection or ask for traffic restrictions to be put in place on Queenborough Road, and I'm not going against you, Mr. Ingram, but I've got to be there. You could always make a submission to the Joint Transportation Board.
Okay.
That would be considered.
What is a Joint Transportation Board?
It's basically a joint venture between Swale Borough Council, Kent County Council, and parish councils to basically look after the management of traffic in Swale and traffic restrictions such as yellow lines, traffic light phase. We get reports on road works, etc., etc. So, I mean, you could always make a submission to that, and that would be given due consideration. Obviously, Mr. Ingram would have his right to put council.
I acknowledge that the club are trying to do a really good thing for the community. You know, lots of people enjoy it. I'm not a football fan myself, but there are thousands of them that love it. You know, that's great.
So
the club should be supported to put proper
As has been said, there, at the moment, there is no restriction on Wetherby Road, so I mean, I appreciate what you're saying. But anyway. So,
Have a response to that.
yeah, okay.
Okay. I'd like to address some of the concerns raised regarding parking and how it relates to our licence application. Some of the cars in the photo submitted may well be linked to a football match art venue. I'm not here to deny that. I do want to put in context, it's important to point out that parking shown isn't related to a licensed event, like a music night or function. And to my knowledge, there has not been a traffic incident on this road directly attributed to us. Parking shown in the images is on a public road. There are no yellow lines, no signs, no parking restrictions. In other words, it's legal parking on a public highway. Like many local roads, it does get a bit busy at times, especially during busy, well-attended football matches and especially home derbies. But the vehicles aren't parked illegally and traffic is still flowing. I'd also like to point out that the white truck shown in one of the pictures actually belongs to the resident of the house it's parked outside, and there's nothing, so it's a very wrong picture, and there's nothing to do with our venue or any of its visitors. Now, while some cars in the photos are partly parked on the pavement, I'd suggest that's a wider issue in the area. It's something which can happen for years and it's not unique to us or to the days that we're open. To my knowledge, there has not been an accident along this road that can be blamed on parking on match days. An important point is here that we were not provided with any metadata or date information until this very second for the photographs. There is no way of knowing exactly when they were taken or what event it relates to. For example, we have not had a home football match since the Easter bank holiday, Monday, April 21st. That's quite a long time ago and well before hay baling season started. However, there was a car show recently at the neighbouring sports facility, and there's a real possibility that the traffic shown in the photo was related to that rather than anything at our venue. A venue whose gate is 30 feet from our gate and roughly the same size as ours. Our next home game is not until September, and that again is way after hay baling season that was mentioned in this application. So respectfully, I think it's only fair to say without that kind of clear evidence, it wouldn't be responsible to hold this licence application responsible for the parking shown in these images. That said, we're not brushing off the issue, far from it. We are currently in the process of building a brand new overflow car park with the capacities for an extra 60 vehicles, specifically to reduce congestion on busy match days. That's a significant investment and something we're doing entirely off our own back, not because we've been told to and not because we want to do things properly and responsibly. Summing up, the photograph shows legal parking. The truck belongs to a resident. The images might not be, as proved by the date, are not from one of our events, and we're already putting real long-term solutions in place. The bottom line is being upfront. Match days bring extra cars, always have. That's not what this licence application is about. We're not trying to expand our match day activity or change how these days run. This is about adding added value to the space and offering more for our community without making life harder for our neighbours. The licence application is about expanding the positive use of our space and making it more useful for the community, not increasing disruption or causing new problems. And we are happy to work with residents and the council to find ways of improving things, as we want to be part of the solution, not causing the problem.
The council have your.
Yeah, but I know that, but we have to rebut what he
I'll
said.
give you a chance to put your submission in, and you can, whatever point you was going to make, you can make it then.
Thank you. My name's Pamela Cole. I live in Sunnyfields Drive. And up, is that
If you
right?
wish to.
Yeah. Thank you for hearing my objection to this application to increase the licensing. As I stated in my letter of objection, I oppose strongly this application. This is a football club, and whilst I can just about tolerate the floodlights, noise and parking on match days and training sessions, I'm very upset to learn of the proposal to have further activities which include outside music, which is being considered. In my opinion, the existing licence is more than adequate for a club that is so close to a residential neighbourhood. I feel my quality of life will suffer if this application is approved. As you can see, I am elderly. I don't like admitting that, but I am. With a health condition that requires regular sleep, no stress and anxiety. I have blinds and curtains on my windows to exclude the floodlights, which are often on during the room very late at night. And I know you are addressing that, so good on you. When the breeze is in the east, I can hear individual words which appear to come from the touchline by the words. And if from the west, it's a constant drone with the additional roar and banging. Is there drums at Home Park? I don't know. It's a banging anyway. As I'm hearing impaired, you can only imagine the noise levels at times. There is inadequate parking and cars regularly park in Sunnyfields Drive with the accompanying revving up, door slamming and jubilant goodbyes or recriminations as is necessary. It isn't often, but it is extremely disturbing. Just last Sunday, 22nd of June, it was difficult to exit Sunnyfields Drive due to the excessive parking in Sunnyfields Drive and on the Queenborough Road. And this was at 10:30 a.m. I should also like to know if the proposers and supporters of this application live near the venue and are aware of the noise, lights and parking restrictions. I'm outside my comfort zone being here today, but I feel so strongly about this issue. But I'm here to present this personally. As stated earlier, I think the club has adequate provision for extra entertainment and strongly urge the committee to reject the applications. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today.
You do very well, by the way.
Yeah. As I said earlier, my name's Robert Gallagher. I live on Queenborough Road. My objections, I will apologise if I, having written this out before the application was altered, to get formally. My objection to this application is, one, noise pollution. As a resident who backs onto it and already suffers from loud music before and after matches, should the playing of both music, both recorded or live, be allowed, it would make it impossible for residents to sit in their gardens, enjoying the peace and quiet as is their right. Also, there is the question of disturbance to wildlife, especially during the nesting season. Even if the permissions were to be given, I have no confidence that it would be adhered to, and so on several occasions I have had to visit the pub to ask them to turn off music during the training and kickabout sessions. And on Saturday, 31st of May, there was a large group of people drinking and listening to loud music outside the club building, which I've been confirmed by Helen was outside of your licensing provisions.
Can I just clarify? that?
Sorry?
Just to clarify there,
Yeah.
yes, you can't sell alcohol consumption outside, but consumption itself isn't a licensed activity, so someone
Yeah.
before that.
No, there were tables and chairs set up and umbrellas. I think it'd be quite fair to draw that alcohol was brought out. Yeah, but, yeah, I don't have the photographs of people sitting in the building. I'll accept that. So, well, yeah. It started at approximately 14:20 and went on till early evening. Therefore, I have no confidence whatsoever they would stick to any permissions given. I should also like to raise the issue of parking permission. I know this has been gone into a few times, but on reading the application, I could find no mention of this additional parking permission. At the moment, during well-attended matches, overspill parking is along the A250 Queenborough Road, a very busy road and one of the two main routes into Sheerness. The cars are generally parked wheels up on the pavement, which in itself is an offence, of which I'm sure you know. This makes it very difficult for pedestrians, especially those with prams, to negotiate. It is also my belief that it's only a matter of time before this causes a serious accident, as the parking encompasses a blind bend, which makes it almost impossible for traffic coming from the direction of Sheerness to see traffic coming from the other directions as they negotiate parked vehicles. And I draw the committee's attention to one of the photographs, which shows a borrowed a wooden post and a blue car. This, interestingly enough, this post.
These in the pack, so.
Yes,
are
in
they
the
on
pack.
on the email that we received?
No, it's in the pack we got today. We're a bit.
Six of the photos.
Yeah.
The additional photo.
Yeah, in the email.
One's from the email.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Shows up, there's a red car approaching, wooden post and front of a blue car. On that. Same page.
Is that the one you're referring to?
That's the
Yeah,
one
red
that's-
car.
What I'd like to make about that, interestingly enough, that post is called my property. Car is my neighbour's taxi. When,
The red car, so.
yeah, the red car coming towards us is just for illustrative purposes. The blue car parked in the drive is my neighbour's car.
I can just see a tiny bit of
And
the
the post
bonnet.
is mine. The illustration I'm going to give you is that, as you can see, they own two taxis and the car is parked quite close to the road. For me to come and swing in, coming from Queenborough direction, to swing in, I have to get my car on on the centre of the road to be able to turn in. As you can see, all the cars are over the line. And these cars have come round the blind bend. Only a matter of time before somebody in that circumstance, going to be me or somebody else, involved in an accident. No fault of their own. So I know this is not in the consideration of this committee, but is there any way that the committee could push forward with KCC on instigating maybe a 20-mile-an-hour limit?
That would be an act for the joint transportation. board, so
I mentioned it.
I'm sure councillor Whiting could advise you, on any significant to.
Yeah, I sit on the joint JTB, but, I mean, I'm kind of, I'll discuss that in the local stuff outside of this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to take that forward. Thank you.
An addendum to it in response to the late edition of supplementary documentation provided by the applicant. Having read the two PDFs supplied, first appeared to be the Public Current Noise Action Plan, which in the most is adhered to, with one notable failure. This being the prevention of air horns, which will become a regular addition to home games. Have you read the noise plan?
Yeah.
And the other refers to a report and investigation into levels of noise pollution, and whether they break current legislation. It's interesting enough, I note that some levels are quite low and others appear to come quite close. The document states the measurements were taken between 1930 and 2130 on Wednesday the 14th of the 5th, 2025 at an adult football match. Fortunately, having searched the internet, I can find no record of a match being played on that day. I also fail to understand how it's relevant to today's business, as it measures noise levels at a football match and not an outdoor event with live or recorded music, as the application states. Apologise for taking up so much of the committee's time, but I think it's important these points are raised and noted. Thank you.
So my name's Stephen Metcalf, I'm a resident, do apologise, I've been nervous, but I've got nothing against like the individuals, it's just like, for me, I've got a handwritten letter come through the letterbox and I was just like, what? So had I not got that, there must be hundreds of people that don't even know about this news going on to them. So that's kind of, yeah, where I'm at. So, Chair, councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm fully supportive of clean grassroots and local community venues, but this application seeks more than the occasional match day alcohol or music. It would effectively turn home park into an unrestricted outdoor drinking and entertainment space in the residential area, without enforceable safeguards, fundamentally changing its use, and risk public and nuisance, safety, and mental health. The objection found that uphold at least 3 of the 4 licence objectives: public nuisance, There are no enforceable measures to prevent disruption of noise, outdoor drinking or music spills, public safety. There's no parking controls, no dispersal strategy, no physical separation between homes and outdoor areas. Prevention of crime and disorder. Alcohol side without trained staff supervision increases the risk of antisocial behaviour. I live directly across the road. I have autism and I'm protected under the characteristics of the Body Act. This licence will severely impact my ability to live safely and predictably in my home. Council has a duty under Section 149 of the Body Act 2010 to avoid placing people like me at disadvantage. That duty is active and legal. So far, there is no evidence that has been meaningfully considered in this application. The application claims that it's about occasional use. That's not true unless you use temporary event notice. We've covered that. I'm struggling to find a reason why you did more than that, given that the average match day attendance is only between 300 and 400 people. Tends are designed for match day celebrations or one-off gatherings that include oversight from police and environmental health. Choosing consent to apply for a permanent, open-ended outdoor license reveals a different goal entirely to operate a commercial scale beer garden without very limited use restrictions. Most licensed premises do not have unrestricted outdoor permission. I've viewed available public records and with recent license outcomes. To my best knowledge, that only one venue, being Mr. Stanley Quarry Fashion, has received any such permissions. Then it is limited to outdoor music and outdoor issues, which is 6 events a year. Swell's own licensing policy requires applicants to submit a site-specific risk assessment when applying for outdoor events and residential zones. Yet the noise plan submitted by the applicant is outdated, generic, and legally insufficient. It makes no reference to recorded music, no reference to decibel levels, and there's no strategy for noise enforcement. This is not a simple basis to which approve an application. I respectfully urge the committee to reject this application. If you're not prepared to refuse it, I ask you to impose strict enforceable conditions. No outdoor music, no permanent outdoor sales, decibel limits, and independent noise monitoring. Mandatory review of events or breaching the code. Finally, I'd like to say respectfully, but clearly, the committee granted the licence, as it stands, I'll observe my request. This application is common form infringement from statutory protection that undermines residential immunity. I think today not to just protect myself, but also my neighbours, especially those who don't have the confidence, the legal knowledge, or the opportunity to come forward. Many people affected by this don't realise this application is happening. I did not, as I said, I did not hear it until I had a handwritten letter. I will pursue all available options to defend our right to live in a peaceful, dignity in our homes. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sorry.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair. It's actually quite unusual, I think, to have from my experience as a member of the committee and chair of some of these, it's actually quite unusual to have a local member here. And I've tried to explain why I'm here. The club clearly enjoys overwhelming support on the Isle of Sheppey for the work that it does. And it does bring massive, and I think, positive benefits to Sheppey in very many ways, not least getting us on TV in a couple of years ago, which is all brilliant, I think, for the island and brilliant for those involved. And I know youngsters, the families of youngsters that are involved in their youth squads that benefit greatly from it. So I would like to just congratulate Councillor Ingram and Mr. Manningham and their colleagues on the work they do at the club. However, Mr. Chairman, as you've heard from the residents who live close to the ground and are most impacted by the activities there, that success does come at a cost. And in my role as a local member or member of the committee, as I say, rarely have I seen so many objections to a licensing application from members of the public. And all of the concerns we've heard today, I do think feed in, be it parking, be it noise, there's a range of things you've heard, Chairman, that I do feel feed into one of the committee's aims, which is to prevent a public nuisance. Because everything we've heard today, including, I would suggest, the parking, creates a public nuisance. I accept it's increasingly difficult for clubs like Sheppey. to sustain themselves and remain financially viable and provide the services they do, and the diversification of some kind is necessary. However, I think it's the intensification of the activity across extended hours, which is the concern of the residents that have contacted me, and that do therefore increase the potential for a public nuisance. I mean, Councillor Ingram today has offered a whole range of conditions that he would accept should you be minded to agree the application today. I mean, it's a bit more difficult to understand those because they're not all actually written down against the original application as to where that movement is. But hopefully when you make your deliberation shortly, you can have that set out more clearly for you. But I do ask, Chairman, that you and the subcommittee members consider this very carefully, consider carefully the concerns that have been raised by the club's neighbours in making the decision today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. I will let you come back briefly, Mr. Ingram, just to answer a couple of points, if you can be as brief as possible.
Brief as possible. We didn't receive this until quite late on in the day. Well done for all your time and effort in making this up. But did you look and see if any of these went to appeal and any appeal responses, if any?
Oh,
It's very one-sided. It just shows straight up what happened.
Oh, so I'll let you answer. Yes, sorry.
So, perhaps I can help with this. Mr. Ingram's referring to a list of cases which are legitimate cases that Mr. Metcalfe has put forward that he would like you to consider in particular. Now, those cases they're all legitimate cases. They did happen. Relevance, I think, is important, and how they impact the subcommittee's decision today. What those cases effectively say, a lot of them relate to planning legislation. Now, planning and licensing are separate regimes.
I agree with that.
But matters that inform planning may also inform licensing, and that's why you give your evidence today. The important thing is your evidence is based on your decision is based on the evidence that you've heard before you, insofar as what is appropriate and proportionate for the licensing objectives. The cases provided, none of them are a definitively saying how you must make your decision, but then form part of a huge body of case law that gets us to where we are today, which is, in a nutshell, you will look at the evidence before you and judge it against the licensing objectives as to what you deem to be appropriate and proportionate. If there are any matters with specific reference to any particular case, then I'll be happy to answer those.
Members, any questions for the members of the public? Mr. Ingram, do you have any questions for the members of the public?
No. Thank you, Martin.
So just before we move on to those discussions, I think it might be helpful, as Councillor Whiting said, the application as applied for has changed slightly where we find ourselves now. And would it be helpful if I read through perhaps what the applications look like at this point, or we make this solutions? So, because obviously there have been changes both throughout the application process, the applicant agreed a number of conditions with the police as well, and also in submissions and discussions today, there's been additional points, some of which go directly to some of the smoke after proposals we were in to see. So before I go down to asking for proposals, which is just any points that you haven't already met. And given the application has changed slightly, I think it might be helpful if I could just go through what it looks like now so that you would understand exactly what they're looking at. Mr. Ingram, I might need your help just to confirm that I've got this correctly. So currently what is sought, indoor sporting events from 12 to 11 PM, 7 days, there's no change to that. You've removed the request for boxing wrestling entirely.
Yeah.
Provision of live music. The restrictions, so you've applied for live music indoors and outdoors, Monday to Saturday until 11 p.m. Sunday till 9 p.m. Yes. Provision of recorded music indoors and outdoors, Monday to Thursday to 11:30 p.m. Friday and Saturday till 1 a.m. and Sunday till midnight. That's actually a reduction in what you currently have.
Yeah.
Late night refreshment until midnight, Monday to Thursday, and until, Sunday to Thursday until 1 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Yes.
Could you please explain to the public what late night refreshments mean?
Yes, late night refreshment is hot food and hot drink after 11 p.m.
No,
Well, alcohol is set. Late night refreshment is specific license for the hot, non-alcoholic food and drink. Sale of alcohol, now it's on sale only, but covering the whole area shown in your plan, which would include Sunday to Wednesday to 11:30 p.m. Thursday to midnight, Friday and Saturday till 1 a.m. for your standard hours. Yeah. We then look at the non-standard hours, which is when you can trade later. So that later is until 2 a.m. for alcohol, 1:30 a.m. for recorded music, 2 a.m. for opening and late night refreshment. Now those non-standard timings, so those extra hours, we would be happy to limit to 6 times per year. Plus Christmas and New Year's Eve, which you already have on your license. Live music, you said you will restrict live music externally to 9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you need recorded music externally beyond 9:30 p.m.? And just to clarify, if your numbers are below 500, you don't need specific permission for live and recorded music. You have an audience up until 11 p.m. That will be classed as deregulated entertainment. It doesn't need to license.
But with our current attendance in mathematics, we wouldn't need to regulate live or outside live recorded music.
Below 500,
Literally below 500.
up until 11 p.m. But your current license only uses the clubhouse. Proposal is for the whole venue. So live music externally to 9:30 p.m. After that, your audience would have to be below 500. And the committee can't do anything about that. They're allowed to have live music deregulated until 11 p.m. subject to the numbers being small enough. No live music outdoors between October and March. Move up to voting on sales only. Additional conditions proposed include residence meetings.
Yes.
Yeah. Just a question for you, would you be happy for a complaints procedure to be published on your website?
Yes.
Contact details to be made available to residents or someone they can call if they have concerns.
Yes, I think that's already out there.
Noise management plan,
We have submitted the noise management plan.
yeah, challenge 25.
Challenge 25 is part of the police restrictions, and it's something we have already got in place.
Yeah, so actually all of the police conditions that they've said, those are. Okay, I think that covers everything as to how the application looks now. At this point, Chair, you might have to come back.
Mr. Ingram, proposal submission.
Closing submission. Members of the committee and members of the public, thank you for hearing us today. Let me be absolutely clear. We are not here to turn Home Park into Ibiza-on-Sea. We're simply asking for a bit more flexibility to make better use of the community asset that already exists, already functions, already has a functional alcohol license and already supports local people, especially young people, week in, week out. Yes, concerns have been raised, and rightly so. Residents deserve to be heard, but we're not brushing anything under the carpet. We've listened, we've responded, and we're offering firm, practical and enforceable ways to manage noise, parking, lighting and behaviour. This is not a free-for-all. It's a well-considered, proportional request backed by genuine willingness. We've proposed curfews, noise limits, improved lighting, parking marshals, extra bins, event restrictions, not because we've been told to, because we care about getting this right. We live here too. We want to be a good neighbour. We'd also like to offer quarterly residents meetings and or email updates on social media. This license isn't about cramming more people in or keeping people up all night. It's about giving the club and the community the ability to host the occasional event, celebrate local achievements and keep Home Park sustainable. I ask you to judge us not by fears of what might go wrong, but by the record of how we've run things so far, responsibly, openly, and with the community at our front. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Do any of you, ladies and gentlemen, wish to make any brief summary of your evidence?
For me personally, seems like a genuine person. I just feel that the scope of the license and that we're changing the ad hoc on the fly, it's just, yeah, for me personally, I can't see how you could grant that. I know what about pictures may have been a parking match. I think when you mentioned there was an outdoor event a couple of weeks ago and the parking was a nightmare. Was it a match day? It shows you there's evidence that outdoor events bring public nuisance. So all these voters, whether they was on a match day or a different event that was, as the gentleman said, half a mile down the road, you can see already what kind of nuisance it brings. I honestly believe that, and it's not personal, but I feel like licenses being used to circumvent proper planning. Proper planning brings in things like lighting restrictions, you know. So if you want to have this outdoor commercial enterprise, great, but then do it the way that brings proper scrutiny, you know, through planning. You know, it's not a case of, because it's technically, you're very technical about this is licensing, this is planning. So it's very different. Words matter. So whatever we agree to or disagree to, or whatever you agree to or disagree to, the words in the side of that planning application matter, language matter, and all up for interpretation. For me personally, yeah, football matches, brilliant. Jumping under 12 events, brilliant. Weddings, outdoor music, recorded music. There's no sound barrier. This acoustic report is all about football. There's not a single acoustic report about live music, recorded music. So a lot of this, I don't think it's kind of irrelevant. It's all because, don't worry, we're not going to do that. Trust us. So you can't just blanketly give someone effectively free rein to self-manage themselves. It has to be under public scrutiny. You know, it's not like this is in the middle of nowhere. It's a residential area. Worrying about parking, that road was designed for a residential area. It was not designed for a commercial enterprise. And effectively, Gillingham doesn't have outdoor work themselves. Plenty of people in the same league as Sheppey FC don't have outdoor sales, you know. So I'm just a regular guy that fixes boilers for a living. I have no idea about law, but I've had to read for the last 3 or 4 weeks about all these different things because, fortunately, I'm quite sad and I enjoy stuff like that. I'm like, is that been done there? But there's a lot of disabled people that I know and elderly people that can't get here. They're going to struggle to get a bus into town. Do you know what I mean? Especially when they're going past on like Zimmer frames or their electric scooters and they're all parking. I know that's not the club's fault about parking, but because it's down to the individuals parked there. But ultimately, you've brought it in. If it's like this with 300 to 400 people, imagine an event with 1,400 people in residential. It's unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. There's no sound barrier around that ground. And sound carriers, and as the lady said, depending on what way the wind's going, you get in from miles. Do you know what I mean? I hear from my house, and I'm literally just across the road. So my house don't know everyone's address, but I think there's a row of 6 houses that are literally back onto that ground. I don't have to photo show it. And you're just literally, it shouldn't be a case of granting it and monitoring it. It should be like, before we grant it, X, Y, Z needs to be in place. Like, I've got no issue with football club or any individuals. But for me personally, and you guys will have a better opinion of me because I'm just a regular person and you've seen everything, gentlemen over there is like a counsellor, 20 years experience in the entertainment world. just a regular hire, that I just, it's something in my gut tells me this isn't right. And if from that, that's one me off, so.
We just regular people.
Yeah, so, sorry,
Well,
it's nothing against them, because ultimately, small business owners generate money and revenue and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that they won't do the responsibility away, but it's just the scope of that application is too broad and there's not enough scrutiny. That's just my opinion. I'm sure your old man at the bottom's gonna have something to say.
I would like to say, and I quite agree with the gentleman at the end, but his comment about licensing in Premier League clubs, they are licensed to sell alcohol within their grounds. And that's what we're asking for, the license to sell alcohol within our grounds. And he brought up,
It's in close statement, isn't it? The grant.
it's their grounds.
So it's-
And also there's the walkways and the causeways that are selling alcohol outside. It's within their grounds and that's all we're asking for.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, intended.
Fingers crossed.
Excuse me,
I'll take the gentleman first and then I'll come to you.
I think there's a case here for an adjournment until such time as this amended. These amendments have been typed up, printed and distributed so that the lay members, should we say, the ordinary residents, rather than having to think what was said by that, what's, that we can have a chance to look at the new application as amended.
Chair? This process is exactly how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You have a hearing, you listen to things, and the licenses are that make the decision. Now, at that point, if you give an written decision, you have to say. And it comes forward. But having you considered, made not just by the hearing, but by everybody who wrote in, so that they can see everything what goes on it. Now, there is an opportunity to appeal the decision, that appeal will be to the magistrate, so if you are unhappy, there is scope for appeal, but those guys are legal person. With regards to adjourning, so that an amended application can be put forward, if we want to. Get, and it is now a matter for you to decide.
Rest assured, sir, that the three of us heard everything that you've said. Submissions to this thing, but we've read the papers carefully and we will give it due preference consideration and entire.
Mr. Ingram just said you want and everybody else to sell alcohol in your grounds, but it isn't, it's more than that. You want outside events. You want 6 separate outside events. And I think that is mainly what me and my neighbours are objecting to. Personally, all clubs fine, but enough is enough. You're doing good work. You see the youth going in there, that's great, but we don't want music. Loud music. You can have your alcohol at your football events. That's not going to affect us. Music will.
Sorry, I thought this was something up, not another question on me again.
No,
You just said all you want is to sell alcohol within your grounds, but you don't. You want more than that, and your application says you want more than that.
as I said to the gentleman next to you, we will fire a few minutes. It will take us some time to go through the evidence that we've heard today. But when we do return to give our verdict, rest assured that we will give them everything that you've said, everything in the papers, due diligence and due deference. Councillor White, do you have any closing comments?
Thank you.
I'll just make a closing comment. I don't know if you want to look at my phone to prove that the photos were taken on Sunday. You're very welcome to. Oh, well, these are the photos, these. Okay, I just wanted to prove that they were taken on Sunday, which wasn't a football match day. It was a event, children's event. Okay, okay, thank you.
Questions? Right, right, so we will now retire to consider our verdict. Once we've reached that 30, there's a sale to the meeting. To that, but,
They will go.